there was a terrorist attack in Damascus. Now, this happened in Sid Zainab, which is a predominantly Shia, so Shia Muslim area. This is where it's located, as you can see, right? That's Damascus, and Sid Zainab's here. Now, who could have done this? Who could have done this? Only a few people come to mind. Keep in mind, this is the location of a very, very important place for Muslims. This mosque is where Muhammad's granddaughter is buried. Okay, it's a beautiful shrine. I've been in there when I was young. It is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, truly phenomenal. It's well known. You have Shia. This is a predominantly Shia area, right? So who would want to hurt Shia Muslims in Damascus and or pilgrims, right? Because as I said, it's a pilgrimage site. So you're going to have people from not just Iran or Iraq, but all over the world who might come here. Not only tourists. Tourists is another group, but we are talking about targets here. We're talking about Shia Muslims or Shia Muslims from Iran or from Iraq. Who would want to hurt these groups? There are only two contenders who come to mind. Number one is Israel, and then the other one is Al-Qaeda and ISIS. No one else would do something like this, okay? So there are conflicting reports of whether this was on a motorcycle or a taxi. It doesn't matter, because in the end it did happen. And, sadly, 6 people perished. 6 people perished, and there are about 15 to 20 people wounded. You know, the figures in the aftermath, the figures always change, unfortunately. So it might get worse. But why does this come at a time like this? Because Damascus, the capital in Syria, has been stable for quite some time, right? Remember, this war has been going on for 12 years now, since 2011. There was a period where Damascus was doing very, very, very badly. And, you had all of these groups like Jaish al-Islam and Faylaq al-Rahman, basically offshoots of Al-Qaeda that are supported by Turkey, by Saudi Arabia, by the United States, by Europe, by Israel, who were in Damascus and in Jobar and in the suburbs, and then they were kicked out and Damascus was taken back. And now most of Syria has been taken back. But you still have pockets in the desert. You still have pockets of ISIS, of Daesh, here near Palmyra, near Tadmur, okay? So look how big Syria is. So on the road from Damascus to Palmyra, so it's about a 4-hour drive, if I remember well. Here, you still have pockets of ISIS. Now, down here, you see the corner right here between Jordan, Iraq, Syria. This is very, very strategic. You have Al Tanaf. There's a U.S. air base here. So what a coincidence that, that a stone's throw away, you have pockets of ISIS that are there. This is a very important U.S. airbase. Now, officially, if you look at some bogus map, that some mainstream outlet will cook up, they'll tell you, oh, well, this is a Free Syrian Army outpost or something. It's a U.S. airbase. Cut the crap. Speak straight. It's a U.S. airbase. Now, up here, above and to the east of the Euphrates River, all of this, it's like 1/3 of Syria, right? This is U.S. and Kurdish. And then up here you have, in Idlib, you have Turkey and Al-Qaeda. So, and Israel, of course, down here in the Golan Heights. So it's still very much, carved up. But my point here is that you only have a few groups who would want to hurt Shia Muslims or Iranians. Now, thankfully, there were no Iranians who were harmed, but still 6 people perished. These are Syrian civilians. You'll have Israelis who will try to justify this. Well, once again, their Israeli terrorism is always okay, right? They'll try and justify this by saying, well, nearby to Sid Zainab, or in the area of Sid Zainab, you have Iranian militias who are garrisoned there. Okay, so where are they? Why is there not a single soldier or fighter among the wounded, among the casualties? Why are they all civilians? Guess what? Because it's a terrorist attack. That's why. This is an attempt to indirectly provoke Iran, and more importantly, it's an attempt to destabilize Damascus again. Because as I was telling you, in recent years, it's become stable. It's not like before we have mortars coming down all the time. And it was very, very, very close. Now, when we say that the Israelis could have done this, I mean, there's no shortage of Israeli attacks in Beirut, in Damascus. Jesus, I'm not even talking about airstrikes. I'm talking about assassinations. I'm talking about, car bombs. We'd be here all night. Truly, we'd be here all night. So I'm just putting this forward as a potential contender. One option is Israel. Israel, as I said, they like to use this excuse of, Iran is inside Syria, and therefore we have to counter Iran inside Syria. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because Iran was not inside Syria until they started, this war against Syria in 2011. There were no Hezbollah fighters. I mean, certainly to an extent, yes, but not in the quantities you have now. There were no Hezbollah fighters or Russian soldiers or Iranian soldiers like now in 2023 or during this war before 2011. They just weren't there because there was no need for them to be there. So who caused this war? What do you think would prompt Iran to start sending troops, many of them who have died and have bled, to save Syria from Al-Qaeda, from Israel, from the United States, from, all of these 50 flavors of jihad, as I like to call them, Jabhat al-Nusra, etc., etc. Why? Who prompted Iran to come help Syria in the first place? It's Israel. So when Israel says there's an Iranian threat on the Syrian side of the border, it's a lie. The threat is coming from Israel, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can go and watch. I've played it for you a million times, so you've probably seen it. But I always play this clip of the Mossad chief. We were just talking about the Mossad, Israel's intelligence outfit, right? So the head of the Mossad, the former head, openly says, "Yeah, we armed and gave medical assistance to Al Qaeda in Syria." What? Yeah. Like, it's on Al Jazeera. I played the interview for you. It's not a secret. This is not a secret. It's old news. It's very old, right? Already in 2017, they're admitting this. So, the Israeli position is that it's, even if Al Qaeda supposedly, right, is the number one enemy of the United States, it's the whole reason for the war on terror, right? Even though this is our staunchest allies' number one enemy, we will go and help them because we hate the government in Damascus so much that it becomes okay to work with Al-Qaeda. That's the Israeli position. This doesn't leave much wiggle room here, does it? When you say it's either Israel or Al-Qaeda, who the hell knows? It could be both at this point, right? And what did the Mossad chief say? He said the rules of the game in Syria are such that anything is possible. Yeah, he means it. He means it. Israel is feeling very, how shall I put this, frustrated, because they keep bombing Syria and nothing changes. They're unable to take down the government there. So their way of retaliating, because they're frustrated, is to do stuff like this, where they go and they blow up a very obvious, I mean, ask anyone, from Damascus or who knows their stuff. What area is this? This is a Shia area in Sid Zainab, okay? This is a Shia pilgrimage site. The message is very clear. It's like, I'm not going to give you an analogy because it's clear, right? But this is asking for trouble. I can guarantee you in the next days, you are going to see a response from Iran, albeit an indirect one, because the Americans and the Israelis like to play these indirect games. Well, they get indirect responses, right? You down an Iranian oil tanker, then an Israeli-owned oil tanker is mysteriously going to fall out, not out of the sky, but into the sea, right? This is playing with fire. This is really playing with fire. The government in Damascus take this very seriously, and the government in Iran take this very seriously too. And the Russians take this seriously as well, because you're screwing, they have other things to worry about now. And they came in to clean up all of this Al-Qaeda nonsense that America and Israel have been supporting. And the last thing they need now is to have the progress that they've built, meaning stabilizing Syria, fall back into disarray. This is playing with fire. This is very, very dangerous what they're doing. This is the kind of sectarian violence that you saw in Iraq. But they claimed like, it's Shias and Sunnis blowing each other up like for no reason. No. This is CIA. They do this stuff on purpose. So, you know, one side thinks it's the other, and then they start killing each other, and it's basically divide and conquer, right? You get a group that you're trying to control divided and then fighting on the inside, and then you have less to worry about because they're fighting each other for you. In any case, Syria's situation, I know people like to think of it as a separate war, but I think this is wrong because the invasion of Iraq was 2003. Syria is 8 years later in 2011, and already in 2006 you have cables from the U.S. Embassy in Damascus saying they want, you know, they're looking at ways to get at Assad and get him out of government. And the whole point that I was making to you about ISIS being here in the desert, I just told you, like, you have pockets of ISIS here, but when ISIS was at its height, what area did it occupy? Did it occupy Angola and China? No, it occupied Iraq and Syria. Why did this happen? This is in part because of the proxy war in Syria, but also in part because of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. When you remove Saddam, you get rid of, you know, a powerful leader like that, who perhaps not the most pleasant person, but nevertheless has a country stable. Then you get a situation like this with ISIS taking over and coming out of the woodwork, and it's called a power vacuum. And that is in part the reason why ISIS was able to gain such a foothold. Remember, it started in Iraq and then it spread into Syria. These events are all related. It's this whole war of terror. So this is very sad to see.